Hey guys, welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. I am doing the coolest series ever, and I am taking isolated vocal stems, and I'm doing an analysis and tutorial to walk you through the original vocal tracks of some of the most epic, iconic songs in all of pop and rock history. Next up, Jon Bon Jovi, or just Bon Jovi, and Livin On A Prayer. So if we'd mind, before we get started, please like and subscribe to my channel. That would be super awesome. I have a singing course. The course is called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else, and you can find it right here at kentamplinvocalacademy.com. I also have a singing forum there with over 20,000 people in there, all discussing and negotiating all these different styles and the different ways that we can get to these fantastic vocal sounds, styles, tone, pitch, range, distortion, and everything, right? Now, before we get started, I also did a version of this song, so I will put that in the description, and I've done many Bon Jovi songs. I'll put all those in the description so you can see how I stack up to Jon Bon Jovi, and I've had students do them too, so all the different, incarnations of Bon Jovi with me and my students, I'll put that in the description so you can check out and see how we did. So I want to dive right into this. Now, I know the guy that did a lot of the recordings for this stuff. He's a great guy, and he is just a fantastic mix and tracking engineer. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go, but let's just dive right into the track and see where this takes us, okay? By the way, I haven't listened to this, so this will be a surprise for me, and I'm doing that too, not just to be so much like a vocal reaction, because I'm not doing that. That's not what this is about. This is about breaking down the actual vocals, how he did it, how he got to different sounds, how the recordings happen, all the little nuances that we wouldn't normally get to hear by all of the small gesticulations of having a solo isolated vocal track. All right, let's jam. Let's do this.
Once upon a time, not so long ago.
Okay, even that line, once upon a time, not so long ago, I want to play it back, and I want you to hear how much effect is on the voice. There is a ton of effect on the voice, and the reverb itself is a really big, long room reverb, but what he did was he gated the back end of it to where the reverb tapers off really quickly so that it doesn't get real messy in the mix. You don't want it sloshy and messy, right? Listen closely to how much reverb and how the gate of that reverb. So if you're looking for this kind of sound, he's using kind of a gated reverb, and the reverb is really thick. Listen closely.
Once upon a time, not so long ago.
Right? Now, also too, there's more than one effect on there. So you hear delay, you hear a couple different reverbs, a room reverb, a medium-sized reverb, a longer reverb. You're hearing a lot of effect going on as this is going. So I'm not play it again, and then we'll move on. Here we go.
Once upon a time, not so long ago.
A lot of effect. Okay, here we go.
Tommy used to work on the docks. Union's been on strike. He's down on his luck. It's tough.
Now, bet you didn't know it's tough, that line is a little out of pitch, but there's so much emotion in it, you wouldn't even notice that, right? So, Tommy used to walk on the docks, right? He's got this kind of New Jersey accent, right, from Jersey, and so he's got this kind of, little boy Jersey accent. So he sounds more like a little boy sounding like he was looking to sound more like a man than a man singing the song. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because he was really young back then, but it sounds very boyish to me at least, right? And I love Bon Jovi. I'm not dissing anybody. It's just how the feeling that I get, right? So.
Tommy used to work on the docks.
Work on the docks.
Union's been on strike. He's down on his luck. It's tough.
Tough, right?
So tough.
Right? And so it's kind of pitchy, right? So tough, right? It's not that in pitch, but that's kind of cool too, because it's these carbuncles and the emotion and all the other things that play into it that is what we love about something that's not been auto-tuned or affected so much that we don't get the emotion of the track. All right, here we go.
Gina works the diner all day.
No, by the way, he makes his vowel sounds real. Gina works a diner all day. He doesn't go, Gina works a diner all day. Right, he's not real big on the sound. So listen closely. Gina works a diner all day. He's keeping his sounds really small, really small. You're not sounding man. she brings home a pay for love, right? Now, also too, what's making his voice sound so big isn't that he's got a big voice. He doesn't really have a very big voice. But kind of like what they did with Joe Elliott in Def Leppard, it's very similar in the reverbs that they're using. It's also around the same time and the same kind of engineering techniques. So if you listen really close, it's the reverbs that are making his voice sound so big. But listen to the smallness of the actual vowel sounds that he's creating. Check it out.
Sheena works the diner all day.
All day.
Working for her man. She brings home her pay for love. For love. She says we gotta hold on to what we've got. It doesn't make a difference.
She says we gotta hold. She says we gotta hold on to what we got. It doesn't make a difference if we make it all night. You have it here, you get it, man. You're from Jersey, you know you're gonna take it. If you don't like it, then you don't have to take it. You know what I'm saying? But you know, so how I sing. You don't like I sing? Hey, right? I'm not making fun, but again, it's kind of what reminds me of this. The impression that I get when I hear this. Let's do it one more time for me, and just think of some Jersey kid doing this. Right? Check it out.
For love. She says we gotta hold on to what we've got.
He was so cute.
It doesn't make a difference if we make it or not. We got each other, and that's a lot for love. We'll give it a shot. Oh, we're halfway there.
By the way, this is a high song to sing. I remember when I did this, I think, I'll confess something to you guys. I think it was like 9 takes it took me to get it. And I had to take a break. Like I did 3 or 4 takes and I was like, oh man, this is a tough tune. And I came back, I did it a couple more times. This is a really tough tune. And finally, like the 9th take, I went, I nailed it. There was a couple little carbuncles in mine too, but it's hard to sing through something like this. It's pretty tough. But so the way he distorts his voice is not the healthiest way to do it. So let me play this one. Right? Well, I teach you guys in my singing course not to do that. So what I would recommend doing first is, is starting with a clean sound. Open up the throat, and then, right? Now, mine sounds a little more dio or rounder on the sound because it's a better technique to maintain good vocal health and to get more range too. Though this song has a lot of range, especially the key change at the end. But so instead of, it's, we're halfway there, right? I want you to open up that sound rather than being so pinched and squeezed and small in the sound. It worked for him for a while, but if you notice today, he really doesn't have a lot of voice to choose from, and it's because of a lot of this kind of singing for a really long time. So if you want to maintain really good long vocal health over time, I wouldn't recommend this sound, though it's his sound, his signature sound. Let's continue. Now, notice when he says, take my hand, it's a clear punch. And it's a clear punch going into this. And of course, when guys go in the studio, they don't sing the song end to end live. And what most of the time that we all do as recording artists is we try to give our most epic performance in the studio, and then we try to figure out how we're going to pull this off live. So it's kind of a tight-roping walk act as we get out there. We have to learn to pace ourselves and not over-sing this part so we can get to that part, and not sing that part so heavy we can't get to another part. So we really have to pace ourselves. But if you listen closely again, there's a punch and take it. Watch.
We're halfway there. Whoa, living on a prayer. Take my hand.
You hear the overlap? Prayer, take my hand. Right? There's an overlap from the previous vocal, and then the punch that comes in, you can actually hear it's a separate vocal going in. So.
And we'll make it, I swear. Oh, living on a prayer.
Cool, good stuff, man. Okay, let's see. I don't want a big long thing going on.
Tommy's got his 6-string and hark. Now he's holding in what he used to make it talk so tough.
Now, if you notice in the second verse, It's different than the first verse. The first verse is more laid back, you know, Johnny was to work on the docks. No, now this one is, he's like really leaning in this sound. Let me back this up a little bit so we can hear it. Check it out.
Tommy's got his six string in high.
Tommy's got his six string in high. Now he's giving more energy, more distortion, more girth, more force into the sound.
Now he's holding in what he used to make it talk so tough. It's tough.
Hear how quickly the gated reverb stuff, tough. You know, so he's got a ton of reverb, but it doesn't get sloshy and too messy in a mix because he's gating the crap out of a big hall sound and he's chopping it off to where he's able to use all this reverb without it getting too messy in the track.
Gina dreams of running away. When she cries in the night, Tommy whispers, baby, it's okay. Someday.
Cool.
We gotta hold on to what we've got.
Now, I want to add one more thing. Respect, total respect to Jon for this. You can hear the verses are different. The choruses so far have sounded very different. It wasn't cut and pasted back and forth. He's making it very unique. He's really trying to have each line have a lot of different emotion for the lyric. We've talked a lot about that. I have total respect for that. He's using some air sometimes to have it be real breathy, and then other times he's compressing the air to be more powerful and distorted and punchy. So that's really cool.
It doesn't make a difference if we make it or not. We got each other, and that's a lot for love. We'll give it a shot. Oh, we're halfway there. Whoa, living on a prayer. Take my hand.
Okay, now this chorus does sound like it was flown in. It sounds exactly like the first chorus. We talked about this in the Aerosmith song and some other songs. So it sounds like they just grabbed the first chorus and cut and pasted it to the second chorus, which again, I'm not a fan of that. I really like to make all my choruses different and unique, just a little something so that it just doesn't sound so robotic or computerized as you're cutting from one pace. And it takes away some of the emotion from it too. It's kind of like a sample, you know? You're a sample drum sound and there's no breath and breathing, ebb and flow into it. It's just all the cookie cutter and all the same. So anyway, so it sounds like he cut and pasted because you can hear that take my hand, you can still hear that overlay on it. So pretty obvious it was cut and pasted.
And we'll make it, I swear. Oh, living on a prayer. Living on a prayer.
And you can hear that was definitely punched.
Oh, living on a prayer. Living on a prayer.
Now what's weird is I'm surprised they didn't put that on a separate track, because if you listen closely, it cuts off the track before it. And then when he goes living on a prayer the second time, I think they wanted to make it sound like it was contiguous. The line was contiguous. So they chop off the end of the one phrase a little tiny bit. You can hear it. And then they punch it right into the second phrase. It's odd they didn't just put that on a separate track and bring it up. Listen closely.
Yeah. Oh, living on a prayer. Living on a prayer.
Cool. Oh, solo, so let me go forward here. Again, this is all real time.
Ooh, we gotta hold on, ready or not. You live for the fight when that's all that you've got. Whoa.
Again, you can hear the punch go, all that you've got, whoa, right? That was probably a studio call, some discovery in the studio. But hey, man, let's do a key change right here, and then they do that weird thing where they take out one beat when they go into it. Remember all that?
For the fight when that's all that you've got. Whoa, we're halfway there. Whoa, living on a prayer.
Living on! Hey! He's kind of halfway between chest and head voice right there. It's a tough tune, man. Hear that cut between the verse right there? You cut off one vocal because they wanted it to sound contiguous, like he sang the line together, but he didn't. If you notice, guys, I've talked to you guys a lot about little boy voice, and if you notice, from the girth and the roundness and the warmth of his sound in the verses, compared to this, he's had to thin his voice out a lot to get up into that upper register. You hear me doing that in my recording too. Listen, check out my recording in the description and watch my video of me doing this, and a lot of other Bon Jovi songs too. So I've got a lot of Bon Jovi stuff I've done. In fact, I did a Bon Jovi marathon at one point because I was challenged to do that, so I did that. Anyway, so you can really hear how small and thin his sound is, so he's not dragging all that weight up. He could, hey, hey! He kept bringing, hey, hey, hey! It's much smaller in the sound. Listen closely. Cool, and kudos to him too, man. It's awesome to have an isolated track like this where we don't have all the background vocals doing all the work for him. So you can hear him busting his balls up top like that. He's really belting that stuff out. He's not stepping off the gas at all. And a lot of times when we hear tracks, depending on the track, all the background vocals do all the work for the guy, and he just kind of sits the vocal in the middle, and it makes him sound like he's really throwing down hard. In this case, Jon is throwing down really hard, and he's killing it. He's just throwing down like a banshee, and they have the big background vocals that really push it over the top, which I think is really cool. I think this is, yeah. So like I said, I didn't audition this before because I wanted to be fresh for my comments to be nice and fresh along the way. So anyway, gang, again, if you like what you heard, please like and subscribe to my channel and check out my next video.